Front page of the New York Times, the Mar-a-Lago machine.
Oh, my gosh.
Trump as a modern-day party boss, which is an interesting piece.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, that he sort of has his little evening get-togethers there, and people fight for his attention.
So there is a microphone and a podium that is set up at all times at Mar-a-Lago, just in case he wants to address the crowd, which he does more nights than not.
So he DJs some nights, other nights he
He's
plays
a
Spellbreaker. And you know, if you're looking at your lower thirds and you're wondering what that "like crabs in a bucket" means, it's a line out of this story where one of Trump's aides, one of Trump's people, just said, you know, people will go there and just beg. They will just like grab at him, trying to get his support, trying to get his endorsements. And it's every bit as pathetic as the Apprentice, where people were just like crabs in a bucket wanting him to just pick them up. And there was a scene where he actually flew down all of the Senate candidates in Ohio, put them in a room while he was there, and just let them fight and scream and yell at each other, just so he would give them the endorsement. Of course, the one thing that's missing is
Ron DeSantis?
No, I mean, Ron's probably going to make him go to Tallahassee if they're going to meet. But the one thing that's missing is Trump doesn't give a lot of money. He's throwing some into Georgia, but usually it's an email, a $5,000 check, and he raises the millions and millions of dollars for himself.
Yeah, this is a dynamic that started very soon after he left office, despite there's some speculation that he would be on the outs in the Republican Party. That's not the case. His grip has only tightened as there are pilgrimages. People come to kiss the ring at Mar-a-Lago and beg for his endorsement. He's raised so much money. He has more on hand than the RNC does right now. You're right. He's spent a little bit recently, but not much. He's mostly keeping it, people believe, for this 2024 campaign. But he is still... His word in Republican primaries is still, in almost any state, is still seen as being extremely important. Now, he's had some misses along the way. There have been some defeats, but he just doled out endorsements, including to Dr. Oz in the Pennsylvania Senate campaign. So this is going to test his success rate. But right now, there's no question. The power center of the Republican Party is in Palm Beach, Florida, Mar-a-Lago.
But Richard, the reality,
the governor's
the reality that still exists is that Donald Trump can help you in a Republican primary, and help you lose a general election, especially in statewide races. His name, and this story talks about it. We've seen after Youngkin won, we've seen time and time again people that voted for Biden and Youngkin all upset with Biden top to bottom. Then you ask, last question, do you regret your vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump? Every one of them, no. And he's still toxic. He's still toxic in North Atlanta. He's still toxic in the Philly suburbs. He's still toxic in all of these swing districts. That's not changing in the general election. So you have the Republican Party right now, which has every advantage in the world right now, including one of the worst political operations I've ever seen as far as Democrats, as far as national messaging. Just if you take the whole group of them, I've just never seen a party as out of touch with middle America and even the middle of their own party. But all that said, Donald Trump is keeping them in the game because he's so loathed by swing voters.
Yeah, almost every issue out there, as you know better than I do, is a Republican issue. Border issues, crime issues, inflation issues, and so forth. I think what all these candidates, I assume, are thinking is they got to get to the general election. And the Republican, so few people actually vote in Republican primaries. It's such an unrepresentative slice of the American people that they are going far, 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 far to the right in order to get the nod. But the irony is they don't. If they get through that, having the Trump blessing is a liability. More important, this year you don't need it. The issues are so lined up for Republicans that
inflation.
They really are.
Listen, whether Democrats like it or not, it's inflation. We've said this time and again. Inflation. Crime, southern border.
Three issues.
Inflation, crime, southern border. I was talking to a Democratic sheriff in a southern state who was telling me just the mass chaos on the southern border, the mass chaos, and how it's impacting Florida. And this is a Democrat. And he said, the National Party, I wish they would just come down here and look what is happening. And he was talking about, the repeal of Rule 42.
Yeah.
And he just said, this is just the worst time. He said, I have no idea why they won't talk about the crisis at the southern border. And of course, they don't want to talk about crime either. They don't want to, whatever. And again, it's fine. You don't have to if you don't want to, if that offends your sensibilities. But there's an election to be won this fall, and it does matter to Americans. And by the way, I'm one of those Americans. We got to keep our borders safe. We got to keep our streets safe. And we can do it in a humanitarian way. And if we don't do it in a humanitarian way, then thugs like Donald Trump will do it in their way.
Yeah.
And we are Americans. We don't want that to happen.
We had Eric Adams on here the other day. You see some of the local Democratic officials are understanding they've got to talk differently about crime in the cities. It hasn't really translated nationally.
Yeah.